The stars had always been silent. For thousands of years, humans looked up at the night sky and wondered if they were alone. They sent radio signals into the darkness. They built telescopes and satellites. They searched and waited and hoped. Then one morning in October, the silence ended. Admiral was drinking her coffee when the call came. She was 42 years old, a decorated officer in the United Earth Navy, and she had seen many strange things in her career, but nothing could prepare her for what the young officer on the phone told her. "Ma'am, there are ships in orbit, alien ships, 17 of them." She put down her coffee cup. Her hand did not shake. "I will be there in 20 minutes." The world changed that day. Every television showed the same image. 17 massive vessels hung above Earth like silver clouds. They did not attack. They did not run. They simply waited. Stood in the command center with her team. Lieutenant worked at his computer, trying to understand the signals coming from the ships. Doctor studied the energy readings with wide eyes. Captain watched the screens with a soldier's calm. "They are trying to communicate," said, "but the language is completely unknown." Nodded, "Keep recording everything. We need to learn." For 3 days the ships waited. The whole world held its breath. Some people panicked. Some people prayed. Most people simply watched and wondered what would happen next. On the fourth day, a smaller vessel descended from the main fleet. It landed in an empty field outside Geneva, where the United Nations had prepared a meeting place. Was chosen to lead the human delegation. She walked toward the alien ship with steady steps. Behind her came, and the morning sun was bright. The grass was wet with dew. It seemed strange that such a normal day could hold such an extraordinary moment. The ship's door opened, and saw aliens for the first time. They were tall, almost 3 meters in height. Their skin was blue, and their eyes were large and golden. They had 4 arms and moved with a strange grace. Their leader wore robes of deep purple and carried a small device in one hand. The alien spoke. The sounds were clicks and whistles, nothing like human language, but the device in its hand glowed, and suddenly words appeared in the air between them, written in English. "We are the Galactic Council. We come in peace. We wish to speak with your leaders." Stepped forward. "I am Admiral. I speak for Earth. We welcome you." The alien studied her for a long moment. Its golden eyes showed something that might have been surprise. Perhaps it had not expected a human to respond so calmly. "I am High Ambassador," the alien said through its translator. "We have watched your species for some time. You have finally developed technology that allows you to travel beyond your moon. This makes you eligible for contact." Listened carefully. She noticed many things. She noticed how the translator worked, turning alien sounds into human words. She noticed the small movements of the aliens, the way they looked at humans with what seemed like curiosity mixed with something else. Caution, perhaps, or concern. "We would be honored to learn more about the galaxy," said, "and to share knowledge with the Council." The first meeting lasted 6 hours. The aliens explained that the galaxy was home to over 200 intelligent species. They had laws, trade routes, and a long history of cooperation. Earth was being invited to join this community. It seemed like a dream come true, but remained watchful. That night she called a private meeting with her team. They gathered in a small room, away from cameras and other ears. "Something is wrong," she said. Frowned. "They seem friendly enough." "Too friendly," replied. "Did you see how they looked at us? They are afraid of something." Nodded slowly. The medical scans they offered were very thorough. They wanted to know everything about human biology, heart rate, brain activity, muscle density. "They are studying us," added, "but they are pretending it is just normal procedure." Walked to the window and looked up at the stars. The alien ship still floated in orbit, silver shadows against the black sky. "I want you to work on their translator technology. Learn how it works." He looked surprised. They have not given us access to it. Then find a way, record every signal, every frequency, map their systems. Smiled, he was young, but he was brilliant with technology. It might take some time. You have 1 week. It took him 4 days. When presented his findings, Even was impressed. He had not only understood the basic principles of the alien translator, he had built a simple version of his own. Their technology is advanced, he explained, but the core concepts are not impossible for us to understand. They use quantum patterns to encode meaning. Once I saw the pattern, I could copy it. The aliens learned about this soon enough. One of their engineers noticed the human-made translator during a meeting. His golden eyes went wide. He said something to Ambassador in their clicking language, turned to look at with an expression she could not read. Your people created this, asked, in 4 days. Met his gaze calmly. We are fast learners. The alien was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke again, and this time his voice was different, lower, more careful. How interesting. The diplomatic meetings continued for another month, but noticed that the aliens became more nervous as time passed. They asked more questions about human history. They wanted to know about wars, weapons, and technology. They were especially interested in how fast humans developed new ideas. Made an important discovery during this time. She had been studying the information the aliens shared about other species in the galaxy. Most species take thousands of years to develop space travel after discovering basic science, she told. Humans did it in less than 100 years, and our rate of technological growth is still increasing. Understood, they are not just curious about us, they are worried about us. When the alien delegation finally left Earth, they promised to return with more diplomats and trade agreements. They smiled and spoke of friendship and cooperation, but saw the truth in their golden eyes. It was not friendship they felt, it was fear. As the silver ships disappeared into the stars, she gathered her team one last time. Prepare for anything, she said. I do not think they will leave us alone for long. She was right, but what came next would shake the galaxy to its core. 5 years passed since the first alien ships appeared above Earth. In that time, everything changed. Commander stood on the bridge of the starship Unity and looked out at the stars. He was 38 years old, tall and strong, with eyes that had seen too much. Behind him, his crew worked at their stations with quiet focus. Jump complete, Commander, reported Lieutenant. We have arrived in the system. Nodded. This was humanity's third colony system. In just 5 years, humans had spread farther and faster than anyone in the galaxy had expected. Begin orbital scans. Find us a good landing site. The planet below was green and blue, much like Earth. It would make a fine home for the 50,000 colonists waiting in the transport ships behind them. Back on Earth, Admiral watched the mission reports with pride. She had become the head of the United Earth Space Command, the organization responsible for all human activity in space. Under her leadership, humanity had accomplished the impossible. They had built their first faster-than-light engine within 2 years of receiving alien technology. The aliens had expected this process to take at least 50 years. When the Galactic Council learned about the human achievement, they had not celebrated. They had called an emergency meeting. Remembered that meeting well. Ambassador had tried to smile, but his hands trembled slightly. This is remarkable progress, he had said, truly remarkable. But his eyes told a different story. They were filled with something cold and deep. Fear had grown into something else, something that worried more than fear ever could. Now, 3 years later, humans had 3 colony systems and were planning for more. They had built a fleet of 200 warships. They had developed weapons that matched or exceeded anything the Galactic Council possessed. And the galaxy had begun to change. Commander finished establishing the new colony and returned to Earth for his next assignment. He was called to a meeting with and several other high-ranking officers. "We have a problem," said when they were all seated. "The Galactic Council has stopped responding to our diplomatic messages." Captain, a veteran officer with hair and sharp eyes, leaned forward. "How long?" 3 weeks. No replies to any communication. Lieutenant, the youngest officer in the room, pulled up data on the main screen. "It is not just silence. They have been pulling back their trade routes near human space. Several alien merchant ships have left our systems without completing their contracts." Frowned, "They are afraid of us." "Yes," agreed, "but I am more concerned about what they might do with that fear." She was right to be worried. In the outer reaches of human space, a small research station floated in orbit around a frozen moon. Doctor worked there with a team of 20 scientists. They studied alien technology and tried to understand the secrets of the universe. Was brilliant. She had helped develop the faster-than-light engine. She had created new medical technology that could heal wounds in minutes instead of weeks. Now she was working on something even more important. "The aliens have energy shields that we cannot match," she explained to her team. "But I think I understand how to make them better." Her assistant, a young man named, looked at her calculations with amazement. "This would make our shields 10 times stronger than anything the aliens have." "Exactly," smiled, "and I believe we can finish the prototype within 6 months." But never got to finish her work. 3 days later, unknown ships appeared near the research station. They were not human. They were not from any species recognized. They came fast and silent, and they did not respond to any attempts at communication. Sent out a distress signal and ordered everyone to the escape pods, but there was no time. The alien ships opened fire. The research station exploded in a ball of white light. 23 humans died in an instant. When news of the attack reached Earth, the world held its breath. Who had done this? Why? Commander was sent to investigate. He took a small fleet to the location of the destroyed station and searched for answers. What he found made his blood run cold. "Commander, we have found debris from the attacking ships," reported. "Their energy signatures matched technology." They had heard of them. They were an old and powerful species, one of the founding members of the Galactic Council. They were known for their military strength and their pride. "Can we confirm this?" "Yes, sir. We have also found communication fragments. The attack was ordered by the High Command." Closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, they were hard as stone. "Send all evidence to Earth. Admiral needs to see this immediately." The meeting on Earth was tense. Leaders from every nation gathered to discuss the attack, stood before them with the evidence displayed on screens. "They attacked our research station without warning. They killed 23 of our people, including Doctor, one of our greatest scientists." The room erupted in angry voices. Some demanded immediate war, others called for caution, but raised her hand and silence fell. "I have already sent a message to the High Command," she said. "I have asked for an explanation and demanded justice for our dead." "And if they refuse?" asked one of the world leaders. His expression did not change. "Then we will show them that attacking humanity was the worst mistake they ever made." The response came 2 days later. It was not an apology. It was not an explanation. It was a declaration. "Humans are a threat to galactic peace," the message said. "Your species grows too fast. You take too much. You upset the balance of power that has existed for thousands of years. We will not allow this to continue. Surrender your colony systems and return to your home world or face destruction." When this message was broadcast to the people of Earth, there was no panic. There was no surrender. Instead, there was something they had not expected. Unity. People who had argued for generations came together. Old enemies became allies. Resources flowed from every corner of the planet to support the war effort. And in the shipyards orbiting Earth, Commander watched as new warships were built at impossible speed. "How many can we have ready in 3 months?" he asked. The shipyard commander, a woman named, checked her data. "If we work around the clock, 300, maybe more." Smiled, it was not a pleasant smile. "Make it more." Far away in the grand halls of the Empire, leaders celebrated what they believed would be an easy victory. Humans were young. Humans were weak. Humans would fall quickly. They had no idea what was coming. In her office on Earth, Admiral prepared her final orders before the war began. She thought of Doctor and the other scientists who had died. She thought of the colonies filled with innocent families. She thought of all the generations of humans who had looked up at the stars and dreamed. Those dreams would not die, not today, not ever. She pressed the button to send her orders to every human ship in the galaxy. Prepare for war. The fleet came like a storm across the stars. 500 warships, the largest force they had sent against any enemy in 3,000 years. At their head flew the flagship of Admiral, the most feared military leader in the Empire. Was old, even by standards. He had fought in 12 wars and won them all. He had crushed rebellions, conquered systems, and brought entire species to their knees. He did not expect this war to be any different. "These humans think they can stand against us," he told his officers. "They will learn otherwise." The target was Nova Prime, the largest human colony outside the Sol system. 2 million people lived there. Farms, factories, schools, and homes covered the planet. It was a symbol of human expansion and intended to burn it to ash. Captain stood on the bridge of her ship, the Defender, and watched the fleet approach. She was 31 years old, young for a captain, but she had earned her rank through skill and courage. Her crew trusted her completely. "How many ships do we have?" she asked. Her first officer, a calm man named, checked his display. 62 combat vessels, another 20 support ships. 62 against 500. The numbers were impossible. Any other species would have retreated or surrendered. Did neither. "Open a channel to all human ships," she ordered. When the channel was open, she spoke clearly and without fear. "This is Captain of the Defender. The enemy outnumbers us. They think this makes them strong. They are wrong. Today we show them what humans are made of. Today we fight not just for Nova Prime, but for every human who has ever looked at the stars and refused to be afraid. Hold the line, trust your training, and remember that we do not fight alone." Across the fleet, human sailors heard her words and felt something rise inside them. It was not hope exactly. It was something older and fiercer. It was the same thing their ancestors had felt when they stood against impossible odds and refused to fall. Admiral watched the human fleet hold its position. He laughed. "They are not even trying to run. How foolish." He gave the order to attack. The ship surged forward, weapons blazing. Energy beams cut through space like angry red lightning. Missiles flew in deadly swarms. The alien admiral expected the human ships to shatter like glass. Instead, something unexpected happened. The human shields held. Doctor's research, completed by her colleagues after her death, had worked. The new shield technology absorbed weapons like water soaking into sand. The human fleet took the first wave of attacks and kept fighting. Then they struck back. Human weapons were different from alien weapons. They were brutal, efficient, and terrifying. Fired metal slugs at incredible speeds. Nuclear missiles exploded in silent flashes. Laser batteries cut through shields as if they did not exist. In the first 10 minutes of battle, 15 ships were destroyed. Admiral stopped laughing. "Increase power to forward shields," he commanded. "All ships focus fire on their lead vessel." But Captain had anticipated this. She ordered her fleet to scatter into small groups, each supporting the others. They could not focus their fire without exposing themselves to attacks from multiple directions. The battle became chaos. Ships twisted and turned through space. Explosions lit up the darkness. Debris floated where proud vessels had once sailed. And slowly, impossibly, the humans began to win. Commander arrived with reinforcements 2 hours into the battle. He brought 100 fresh ships, built in the rushed weeks before the war. When he saw the fleet, he understood immediately what Captain had done. "She has them trapped," he said with admiration. "They cannot retreat without taking even more damage." He joined the battle, his ship leading the charge. They were caught between two forces now. Their numerical advantage meant nothing. Their experience meant nothing. They were facing something they had never encountered before. Humans who would not stop. Admiral watched his fleet being torn apart and felt something he had not felt in centuries. Fear. Real, cold fear. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "They are children. Their species has barely left its home world." His officers had no answers. They only had reports of more ships lost, more weapons failing, more death. At the 4-hour mark, made a decision that shocked his entire fleet. He ordered a retreat. The Great Armada, 500 strong when it arrived, fled from the battle with less than 200 ships remaining. They left behind 300 destroyed vessels and tens of thousands of dead warriors. Human losses were 47 ships. When Captain received the confirmed report of retreat, she did not cheer. She thought of the crew members she had lost. She thought of the families who would receive sad news. Victory was real, but so was the cost. "Set a course for the nearest," she ordered quietly. "Our wounded need care." News of the Battle of Nova Prime spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Every species in the Galactic Council heard what had happened. A young, unknown species had defeated the mighty in open combat. Not just defeated them, humiliated them. On the home world, there was panic. Admiral was brought before the High Council to explain his failure. He had no excuses. He simply described what he had seen. "They are not like us," he said, his voice broken. "They do not fight for glory or conquest. They fight like animals defending their young. Every ship, every soldier, every weapon they have is used with a purpose we cannot understand. They are relentless." The council argued for 3 days about what to do next. Some wanted to continue the war. Others wanted to negotiate peace. A few suggested something unthinkable: surrender. In the end, they chose to ask for help. They sent messages to every member of the Galactic Council, begging for military support against the human threat. No one responded. The other species had watched the Battle of Nova Prime carefully. They had run calculations and studied data. They had reached a simple conclusion. They were going to lose. And no one wanted to be on the losing side of a war with humanity. 3 weeks after the battle, the Empire officially surrendered. Ambassador traveled to their home world to accept the surrender personally. He was gracious and polite, but firm. "Your people attacked ours without cause," he said. "You killed innocent scientists. You threatened to destroy our colonies. These actions have consequences." The terms of surrender were harsh but fair. They gave up territory near human space. They paid compensation to the families of those killed in the research station attack. They agreed to never threaten humanity again. When returned to Earth, he was greeted as a hero, but he did not feel like celebrating. "This is not the end," he warned Admiral in a private meeting. "We won the war, but we have made enemies. The galaxy looks at us differently now." Nodded, she had seen the reports from her intelligence officers. Alien species were not impressed by humanity's victory. They were terrified by it. "They thought we were weak," she said. "Now they know we are strong, and strength frightens those who once felt safe." Outside her window, the stars shone cold and distant. Somewhere out there, other species were watching, waiting, and wondering what the humans would do next. The answer would come soon enough, but it would not be what anyone expected. Captain returned to Earth as well. She received medals and praise, but all she wanted was rest. She visited the memorial for Doctor, her distant cousin who had died in the research station attack. "We did it," she whispered to the stone marker. "We won." But even as she spoke, she felt a strange unease. Victory was sweet, but the look in the aliens' eyes when they surrendered was not anger or shame. It was terror. And terror, she knew, could make people do desperate things. 2 years had passed since the war with the galaxy had changed in ways no one expected. Ambassador sat alone in his office on Earth, reading reports that made his heart heavy. Every day brought more bad news. Another alien trade agreement canceled. Another diplomatic mission rejected. Another species building walls instead of bridges. The galaxy was pulling away from humanity, and nothing he did seemed to stop it. He remembered how different things had been right after first contact. The aliens had been curious about humans. They had offered friendship and knowledge. Now those same species refused to answer human calls. Picked up his communication device and tried once more. "This is Ambassador of Earth, requesting a meeting with the Trade Federation. We wish to discuss new trade routes that would benefit both our peoples." The response came quickly. It was the same response he had received 100 times before. "The Trade Federation regrets that we cannot meet at this time, perhaps in the future." There would be no future meeting. Knew this. They were afraid just like everyone else. He walked to his window and looked up at the night sky. Somewhere out there, hundreds of species were hiding from humanity. The thought made him feel very tired. Admiral called a meeting of Earth's highest leaders to discuss the crisis. They gathered in a great hall, representatives from every nation, every organization that mattered. "We have a problem," began. "The galaxy fears us." A general named, now promoted after his success in the war, spoke next. "Fear can be useful. It keeps enemies from attacking." "But it also prevents friends from approaching," replied. "We cannot trade with species who will not talk to us. We cannot learn from civilizations that hide whenever we come near." Captain, who had become a respected voice in military matters, added her thoughts. "The war changed how they see us. We showed them that humans can fight. We showed them that humans can win. Now they wonder what else we can do." The discussion continued for hours. Some argued that humanity should simply ignore the fear of other species. Others believed that humans should slow down, stop expanding, show the galaxy that they were not a threat. But one voice cut through all the arguments. It belonged to, now a senior analyst in Earth's intelligence service. "It does not matter what we do," she said quietly. "I have studied their reports, their secret communications. The fear is too deep. They do not hate us. They are simply terrified of what we might become." She showed them data on the main screen, growth curves and projections, technology development rates, population expansion models. "Other species took 10,000 years to reach our current level of technology. We did it in 200 years, and we are still accelerating. In their eyes, we are not just another civilization. We are a force of nature, a storm that cannot be stopped." The room fell silent. Tried one last time to reach the galaxy. He planned a grand diplomatic mission, traveling to 12 different species to offer peace and partnership. His first stop was the Collective, a peaceful species known for their art and philosophy. They had never shown hostility toward humans. When his ship arrived at their home world, he found something strange. The space stations were empty. The cities showed no movement. Billions of beings had simply left. They abandoned their own planet, his aide asked in disbelief. Checked the sensors again and again, hopping for a different answer. But the truth was clear. They had fled their home world rather than risk contact with humans. His next stop was the assembly. They were traders, practical beings who valued profit above all else. Surely they would see the benefit of working with humanity. They did not flee. They met within a small, cold room on a space station far from their home world. Their leader, A tall being with skin and black eyes spoke bluntly. "We know why you are here, Ambassador. You want trade, you want friendship, you want us to stop being afraid." "Yes," said. "We have no desire to harm your people. We only want to live among the stars as you do." The leader made a sound that might have been laughter. "That is exactly what frightens us. You want to live among the stars, but wherever you go, you change things. You build faster, you grow faster, you fight like nothing we have ever seen." He leaned forward and saw something unexpected in those black eyes. Not anger, not hatred, just deep, weary sadness. "My species has existed for 40,000 years. We have seen empires rise and fall. We have watched stars burn out and new ones ignite. In all that time, we have never encountered anything like humanity." "We do not wish to be a threat," said softly. "That is the problem," they replied. "You do not wish to be a threat, but you are one. The greatest threat this galaxy has ever known. Not because you are evil or cruel, but because you are so terribly, unstoppably capable." The meeting ended without agreement. Traveled to 10 more species. Some refused to meet him at all. Others met briefly and offered polite excuses. None of them would form any partnership with humanity. When he returned to Earth, was a broken man. He had spent his entire career building bridges between worlds, and now those bridges were burning. He reported his findings to and the other leaders. His voice was flat, empty of hope. "They will never accept us. Not as friends, not as partners. To them, we are monsters, not because of what we have done, but because of what we might do someday." Listened with a heavy heart. She had hoped for a different outcome. She had believed that patience and kindness could overcome fear. But now she understood the truth. The galaxy would never stop being afraid of humanity. That fear was too deep, too fundamental. It was the fear of the weak looking at the strong, knowing they could never compete. In the weeks that followed, more reports came in. Species along human borders were moving away, abandoning systems they had held for thousands of years. The Galactic Council held emergency meetings to discuss the human problem. And then came the final blow. A message arrived from the Galactic Council, addressed to all of humanity. It was written in formal, careful language, but its meaning was clear. "After careful consideration, the Galactic Council has decided that contact with humanity poses an unacceptable risk to galactic stability. We hereby request that all human vessels remain within designated boundaries. We further request that no human ships approach Council space without explicit permission." They were being isolated, cut off from the galaxy, not by force but by fear. Read the message to her council. When she finished, silence filled the room. "So this is how it ends," someone said. "They build a wall around us and hope we never get out." But shook her head slowly. "No, this is not the end, this is just the beginning." She looked at with fire in her eyes. "They fear us because we are strong. They fear us because we grow. Do we stop being strong? Do we stop growing? No, we become even more than they fear. We become something the galaxy has never seen." Met her gaze. For a long moment neither spoke. Then the Admiral smiled. It was a small smile, but it held centuries of human determination. "Very well. If they will not accept us as friends, we will give them something else to think about. We will become legends." The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was the largest structure ever built by intelligent beings. It floated in the heart of neutral space, far from any star system, a monument to cooperation between species. For 15,000 years, representatives from across the galaxy had gathered here to make laws, resolve disputes, and shape the future of civilizations. Today, they gathered to discuss one thing only: humanity. High Chancellor stood at the center of the hall, his ancient body supported by a hovering platform. He was the oldest living member of any known species, 9,000 years old, and he had led the council for the last 3 centuries. In all that time, He had never faced a crisis like this. "We have received reports from every sector," he announced. "The humans have now expanded to 12 star systems. Their population has grown to 18 billion. Their technology continues to advance at rates we cannot match." Murmurs filled the hall. Representatives from 200 species listened with growing worry. In the time since the war, they have developed weapons that make their previous arsenal seem primitive. They have built ships that travel faster than anything we possess. They have created medical technology that allows them to live twice as long as before. A representative from the Federation raised a tentacle. "What do they want? Have they made demands?" Shook his head. "That is perhaps the most troubling part. They want nothing from us. They asked for trade and friendship. When we refused, they simply continued." "Continued what?" "Everything, building, growing, advancing. They do not need us. They never needed us." The hall fell silent. This was the heart of the fear that gripped the galaxy. Other young species had been easy to control. They had needed trade goods, technology, protection. They had been dependent on the older civilizations. Humans were different. Humans took what they needed and made it better. They learned from every encounter and became stronger. They were like a fire that fed on everything it touched. Ambassador, the same official who had made first contact with Earth years ago, spoke next. His voice trembled slightly. "I was there at the beginning. I remember meeting Admiral for the first time. She was calm, polite, curious. I thought she was like any other new species representative." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "But then her engineer our translator technology in 4 days. 4 days. We have been using that technology for 6,000 years, and a human understood it in 4 days." "What are you suggesting?" another representative asked. His golden eyes were dark with something that might have been despair. "I am suggesting that we face a simple truth. We cannot compete with them. We cannot contain them. We cannot control them. And if they ever decide to take what they want instead of asking for it, there is nothing in this galaxy that can stop them." The debate continued for many hours. Some representatives argued for war, a united assault by all council species against humanity before they grew too strong. Others pointed out that they had tried that approach and lost badly. Some suggested isolation, building barriers around human space and cutting off all contact. Others noted that this was already happening and was not slowing human growth at all. Finally, Old Chancellor raised his hand for silence. "There is one option we have not discussed," he said slowly. "The ancient protocol, the one we have never used." A shocked gasp echoed through the hall. Everyone knew what protocol he meant. It was written in the oldest records of the Council, from a time before most current species had evolved. A rule for dealing with threats so terrible that no other solution existed. The Forbidden Zone Protocol. "If we invoke this," continued, "we declare human space closed to all contact, not just trade or diplomacy. All contact. No council ship will enter human territory for any reason. Warning beacons will be placed at every boundary. Every species will be told to stay away." "Is that not what we are already doing?" someone asked. "No, this is different. This is absolute. We will not monitor them. We will not spy on them. We will not interact with them in any way. We will pretend they do not exist and hope they do the same for us." Hope looked around the hall with ancient, tired eyes. "Yes, hope, because hope is all we have." The vote was taken. It was nearly unanimous. Only 3 species voted against the protocol, and their objections were noted but ignored. The message was sent to every corner of the galaxy. It was simple and clear. By order of the Galactic Council, the territory known as human space is hereby declared forbidden to all contact. This designation shall remain in effect indefinitely. All species are warned against any approach to human boundaries. The consequences of violating this order are unknown, because no one knows what the humans might do. On Earth, Admiral received the message with an expression that showed nothing. She was old now, her hair white and her face lined with decades of responsibility. But her eyes were still sharp, still full of the same fire that had burned when she first met the aliens. She called her council together one last time. They gathered in the same room where they had made so many decisions over the years, was there, and tired but still hopping for peace. Attended by video link from his ship near the outer colonies, sat at the table with military reports spread before her. Even was there, now the head of human intelligence, her young face hardened by years of watching the galaxy watch humanity with fear. They have declared us forbidden, said. The entire galaxy has been warned to stay away from human space. Sighed, so we are truly alone now. We were always alone, said quietly. They were never going to accept us, at least now they have stopped pretending otherwise. His voice came through the speaker. What are our orders, Admiral? Do we respond? Do we make our own declaration? Was silent for a long moment. She thought of all the years, all the struggles, all the dreams that had brought humanity to this point. She thought of the scientists who had died at the research station. She thought of the soldiers who had given their lives in the war. She thought of every human who had ever looked up at the stars and wondered. Then she smiled. It was a small smile, but it held something vast, something that the aliens had never understood and never would. Hope, not the desperate hope of the weak, but the confident hope of those who knew their own strength. No response, she said. No declaration. We do not need their permission to exist. We do not need their approval to grow. Let them hide behind their beacons and their warnings. Let them tell stories about the terrible humans who conquered thee and scared the galaxy into silence. She stood and walked to the window. Outside, the night sky blazed with stars. Human ships moved among those stars, carrying human dreams to new worlds. We will continue what we have always done. We will build, we will explore, we will learn, we will grow. And someday, when they finally realize that we were never their enemy, perhaps they will find the courage to talk to us again. And if they never do, asked. Turned back to face her council. Her eyes were bright with tears, but her voice was steady. Then we will make our own future. A future so bright that even the most frightened species will not be able to look away. Not because we force them to see, but because the light will be impossible to ignore. Far away, at the edge of human space, warning beacons floated in the darkness. They broadcast their message in 1,000 languages, telling the galaxy to stay away from the forbidden zone. But inside that zone, lights burned on 100 worlds, ships sailed between stars, children laughed and played, scientists made discoveries, artists created wonders, families grew and loved and hoped. The galaxy had declared them forbidden. Humanity simply smiled and continued building. And in the silence of space, where no alien dared to travel, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter over the worlds of humanity, as if the universe itself was watching, waiting to see what these strange, terrifying, wonderful beings would do next. Some said it was the end of human contact with the galaxy. But humanity knew the truth. It was only the beginning.